Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. FTX Founder starts the new year in court this week. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 5th January 2023. Details when we return.
Win prizes weekly with the Dutch Lady Christmas promotion. You can win hampers, kitchen appliances, and much more. Here's how to win. Visit our Facebook and Instagram pages weekly to retrieve the recipe. Follow the recipe. Submit the final dish via email at dlchristmaspromotion@gmail.com, along with proof of purchase of Dutch Lady UHT or 410 evaporated milk. Recipes will be judged based on the display. Winners will be selected each week to battle for the grand prize in a live cooking show hosted by the creative chef. Look out for the Dutch Lady Santa Claus at supermarkets island-wide. The promotion runs from November 16th to December 21st, 2022. And once again, we'd like to congratulate the winner of last year's Dutch Lady Christmas promotion, Miss Brianna Bihari. Dutch Lady Milk, proudly distributed by Hubbard's Agency.
Welcome back. Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX Founder's trial set to begin in the U.S. ZNS News has more.
FTX founder and former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried expected to start his new year in court this week as his trial is scheduled to open in Manhattan before a U.S. District Judge Ronnie Abrams tomorrow, January 3rd. The 30-year-old American is facing 8 criminal charges stemming from the collapse of the cryptocurrency exchange. Prosecutors are alleging in international reports that Bankman-Fried masterminded fraud of epic proportions and pilfered customer funds to prop up Alameda Research, the firm's trading arm. FTX lost billions of dollars following its collapse last year, leaving behind a global list of creditors. Bankman-Fried is also facing federal charges alleging that he violated campaign finance rules in the U.S. 2 of his top associates, Gary Wang and Caroline Allison, have already pleaded guilty for their roles in the collapse of FTX and said to be cooperating with authorities.
Yolanda Bullard of the Adolescent Health Center speaks on the rise in cyberbullying in the Bahamas.
Well, there's been an uptick in cyberbullying spurred on by greater use of technology during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Clinic coordinator for the Adolescent Health Center, Yolanda Bullard, says it is something parents should be concerned about as it can have a detrimental impact on their children.
Cyberbullying really took off because a lot of children felt safe behind the screens. But when they got back to school or they got back out in public, we had an increase in violence. And so for cyberbullying, you need to teach your children proper manners and respect and let them know that the same thing you do face to face, you would do if you're on the internet. You want to have good manners. And if you come across something that is disturbing to you, bring it to an adult's attention. You should not partake in it. If you know someone is being bullied, let somebody know. Seek help for that person. Parents need to have an active role. That's the only way you're going to know. Most children won't tell their parents because they feel as if it's something in them that's causing them to be bullied.
Well, she says parents must be more vigilant as their child can be the perpetrator or the victim in such instances.
As parents, we need to remove the stigma of what is good conversation and bad conversation. We need to let our children know that we love them despite whatever they may or may not have done. And that is the only way that we're going to break that barrier, because you can talk to your child all day. And as parents, we do. But do they talk back? Do they tell us the truth? And so you need to let them know that, hey, regardless of what's happening, I will always love you. I'm always there for you. And you have to say it and constantly show it so that when they do run into trouble or before they even get into trouble, they will be open to you and say, this is what's going on. I need help. Unless that happens, unfortunately, we will still have that barrier in communications between parents and kids.
In the meantime, the Minister of National Security in the Bahamas, Wayne Monroe, says they plan to get tough on repeat offenders.
Well, in the face of rising crime, Minister of National Security, the Honorable Wayne Monroe, says the plan is to get tough on repeat offenders. He says the Bahamas Department of Corrections is moving toward becoming a correctional facility to better prepare prisoners for reintegration into society. He insists those who continue to break the law must face penalties.
We hope to, in the new year, move away from this concept that when you are sent to prison, you get 4 months off your sentence automatically, and you never have to account for it. So if you get out after 8 months and you commit a crime, the first day after you get out, you never account for the 4 months that you were given off. We're going to be seeking to introduce a system of parole where you will be accountable for every day that you're sentenced. Even if you get out 4 months early, if you commit an offense on that day, you will go back to prison to serve those 4 months because you've decided that you don't want to behave.
Minister of National Security says it would require the introduction of new legislation. The good news is they're ready to be rolled out with minor changes. He says government aims to have it out for consultation possibly early this month.
That would require a Parole and Reentry Act that was drafted. There's a draft after the committee reported in 2016. With the change of government, it wasn't pursued. The committee was chaired by Archdeacon Gomez and Reverend Patrick Paul. It did a lot of work looking at systems in the U.S. and in the Caribbean islands around us. It's a product that is at the point that it can be rolled out. You cannot, in my mind, get 4 months off and not be accountable for it once you get out.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. In other news, to recognize the contribution of the late Dr. Leroy Caliste, also known as the Black Stallion, his music and television appearances are being prominently featured on local stations in Trinidad and Tobago. TTT News has more.
Today is Black Stallion Day, as declared by the San Fernando City Corporation, to recognize the contribution of the late Dr. Leroy Caliste, the Black Stallion. His music and television appearances are being prominently featured on local stations. San Fernando Mayor Junior Regrello said the celebration of his legacy will continue with a free concert tonight at Harris Promenade from 7 o'clock. The concert will feature a number of local and regional artists who will be backed by 2 live bands.
We are going to have the bandstand being prepared this today for this celebration this evening. Artists are calling to perform. They want to perform. And it's across the board. Artists are flying in today to perform tonight for stuff.
For real?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mayor Regrello promised a good show, all in honor of their San Fernando son.
You know, I'll put him on par with Bob Marley.
I would as well.
From a global perspective, his views, his thoughts, his expressions, his music is wider than San Fernando in Trinidad. It's about the world and issues that impacted on us.
Celebrations continue on Thursday with a parade through the streets of San Fernando. 81-year-old Black Stallion passed away at his San Fernando home on December 28, 2022.
Still on Trinidad and Tobago, prison officers and reformed prisoners gathered at Universal Church in Port of Spain on Tuesday for the annual First Workday Interfaith Service hosted by the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Services. Acting Commissioner of Prisons, Diopasad Ramota, encouraged those gathered to become more spiritually grounded. TTT's Kimberly De Souza tells us more.
Restoring perspectives through faith, gratitude, and perseverance was the theme for the annual First Working Day Interfaith Service hosted by the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. Acting Commissioner of Prisons, Diopasad Ramota, said he hoped his prison officers become more spiritually grounded and more emotionally intelligent. He also spoke about the purpose of spirituality.
Our religious scriptures and doctrine have the recipe for good living. But some of us may think that that prescribed way of life is too strict. It is restrictive, or it takes away from us from enjoying the material world. I can say to you that you can enjoy the material world You can enjoy prosperity, all under your doctrine of your religious belief.
Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines said prison officers must be respected and commended for their efforts to assist offenders in a number of ways.
We commend you for your work in preparing them for reintegration into the society with the aim of preventing recidivism, reoffending, and most of all, for them becoming contributory members and productive members of the society.
In delivering the sermon, Reverend Dr. Dale Devine said every institution should operate with a vision, and he called on those gathered to remember theirs.
Life, for me, is all about growth and development. And if we are not growing or maturing in life, then I believe we are liabilities and not assets.
This service featured invocations by the Hindu and Islamic faiths and performances by the Prison Service Choir Ensemble. The service was held in collaboration with the Universal Church. Kimberly D'Souza, TTT News.
Scammers target Jamaicans and their National Housing Trust NHT refunds. Television Jamaica Business News reports.
Emails like this are being circulated by scammers looking to profit off Jamaicans gearing up to collect refunds from the NHT. But information like the processing date of December 2022, the amount to be collected over 1.6 million, and an urgent request to validate account details raise red flags. Gillian Jackson is a financial blogger and has been alerting people online.
If the email is asking you for personal identifying information, so if it's asking you to provide any account details, any TRN or identification number information, then that's the first red flag that you should look out for. Anything that's asking you to give your information by email is a red flag.
She also says customers should question the logic of such emails.
Also, it was saying that the money has been sent, but in their email it's saying you have not yet provided the account for which it should be received. So if it has been sent, it would have to be sent somewhere. So it doesn't make sense that it was sent and you haven't yet provided the information on where they should send it to.
Additionally, she notes grammatical and spelling errors pop up in scam emails.
A general assessment of how the information is communicated should be something that you look out for. So, for example, the email said waiting transaction. Normally you'd say pending transaction. The email was very vague as well about when you would get when your refund would be processed.
In the meantime, the NHT says customers should only use its website www.nht.gov.jm or its mobile app NHT Online to apply for refunds. In a release, the agency urges customers to check email addresses and contact the trust if they receive suspicious emails. Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
The Food Fair Shop and Win promotion is back, better than ever. We are giving away $30,000 in prizes with the promotional activities you know and love, like find the misplaced items, spin the wheel, and other exciting in-store activities. You can win hams, turkeys, vouchers, cooking gas from Sol, and lunch packages from the Creative Chef. The promotion runs from November 16th to December 23rd, 2022. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.